It's a calm ocean today, but it wasn't just a few hours ago. Welcome back to CBS Mornings. Crews are apparently working round the clock trying to restore power to the island of Puerto Rico after an island-wide blackout due to Hurricane Fiona. But the island's power grid, if we're being honest, had problems even before the hurricane. 5 years after Hurricane Maria, many people there have been dealing with constant outages, which in some cases can be life-threatening. As promised, let's go back to our lead national correspondent, David Begnaud, who's been talking to a lot of frustrated people there on the island. And David, it must be surreal for you, exactly 5 years after Maria came ashore, killed 3,000 people, and knocked out power to the island. Again, Puerto Rico is dealing with power outages all across the island. Good morning.
Good morning, my friend. Yeah, it's disappointing. We actually just got an update. We're now talking about 11% of customers who have power now, so it seems to be ticking up a whole lot faster than it did after Maria. So we're going to see, how does this private energy company perform this time? And that brings me to the story at hand. We came here nearly 2 weeks ago thinking this was going to be the story today, never expecting another hurricane called Fiona. So here's the deal. After Maria and after decades of mismanagement by the government-owned entity, they said, you know what, we're going to hire a private company to handle transmission and distribution on the island, and they're going to fix everything. So 15 months ago, this company, Luma Energy, came in. So we called Luma and we said, what are the major upgrades that you've done to the grid? What are the big ticket items that you want to show us? Here's some of what we saw.
Luma Energy offered to show CBS News 2 ways they're trying to fix the power situation. Starting with a tour of their training facility in Toa Baja, Puerto Rico. They introduced us to their latest class of line workers, 27 men and 5 women, all of whom are Puerto Rican, and being trained to be a part of the island's power solution. Second, they took us to see what they consider progress in upgrading the transmission infrastructure, removing a wooden power pole and replacing it with a hurricane and earthquake-resistant one. We wanted to speak with Luma's CEO, Wayne Stinsby. He said no problem, until 2 days before, saying he couldn't due to personal reasons. So we took our questions to the representatives offered up by the company, Don Cortez and Noriette Figueroa.
How much of the grid has been rebuilt?
We are just basically starting to rebuild the grid. We have 209 active projects that represent about $5.5 billion of federal dollars.
And the reality is nothing has happened in terms of rebuilding, right? How long do you expect that to take, Don?
We are rebuilding the grid every day, Dave. Every day we make improvements. When we say we haven't rebuilt, we haven't started the big projects.
Right.
But we go out every day and we rebuild segments of lines, we rebuild poles. We're rebuilding every day.
What do you say to the people who are experiencing basically light shows in their own homes with the voltage going in and out, appliances that are being ruined? What's your message to them?
We know exactly what the customer is saying, right? And we know that they're speaking pretty loud. We all Puerto Ricans, most of us, we live here. We do have outages in our homes too.
Does Luma Energy have your confidence?
It's on probation with me. I am not satisfied at the moment.
Puerto Rico's Governor Pedro Pierluisi was a staunch advocate of Luma when he took office in 2021. When we spoke with him nearly 2 weeks ago, he told us,
the last couple of power outages, by their own admission, dealt with lack of maintenance on critical transmission lines, and that's not acceptable to me. I know Luma inherited a very fragile grid, and I know that the reconstruction or the rebuilding of this grid will take years. But that's what they were hired for.
Endless outages have led people to protest in the street and post their frustrations on social media.
The lack of accountability and professionalism by the power companies.
According to the Puerto Rico Energy Bureau, since Luma Energy took over 15 months ago, power outages on the island last longer than they did when the island's bankrupt power authority, which managed the grid for decades, was in charge.
Why is that?
So when we came in, last year was about stabilizing the grid because it wasn't really in a free fall with outages. So what we're doing is, as we are improving the service, we are reducing the number of outages. Now, it's taking a little longer because we're fixing the grid. We're not just going over there and clipping one branch and that's it. We're making a more permanent fix on the repairs we're doing.
How is Luma doing in your opinion?
they're not doing a good job. They're failing at their job.
For 17 years, Jorge Bracero has worked for Puerto Rico's Electric Power Authority. And now he's on the sidelines watching as Luma Energy responds to outages.
It worries me because I lose power every damn week. Every week. I got 2 small power plants at home, 2 small generators, just to keep my family safe. Because now the outages are not 1 hour. I can spend 8 hours. That's not progress.
How you doing?
Welcome to my humble home.
Ew, thank you for having me. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
We went to see 58-year-old Carol Ward. She wrote to us saying that she's a lung cancer patient on oxygen around the clock. And the power instability on the island puts her life at risk almost daily.
Have you ever been caught in a situation where the power went out and your battery backup died and you didn't have oxygen?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. That was 3 days, almost 4 days without power.
The power goes out, but the power bills don't stop coming. Ward lives on a fixed income of $1,500 a month, and her power bill is just as unpredictable as her electricity.
It's frustrating, and it makes you feel hopeless. Because you've been resilient since Maria. Here have been gone through many things. And now we're only surviving. Because either we don't have the money to pay the light bill, like here, we used to pay like 140, right now it's 410, 435. And it's a lot.
So in April of this year, it was 140. And it's jumped all the way up now to 400.
Correct.
Has something changed about your consumption?
No.
I want to remind you, nearly half the people living on the island here, U.S. citizens in Puerto Rico, live below the poverty level. About Carol, some good news. We posted on social media when we interviewed her nearly 2 weeks ago. The mayor's office in Bayamón, Puerto Rico, saw that post, and they helped her out. They brought her a solar-powered generator, so that's what she had to help ride out this storm, and she told us she'd have all the oxygen she needs. So today it was the power. Tomorrow we've got a report about the healthcare system. We've heard from doctors, nurses, and patients who say, David, the healthcare system is in collapse here. You'll hear from a researcher tomorrow who says it's been in collapse for years, but since Maria, it has accelerated. That is part 2 of our series of reports, which airs here on CBS Mornings. Tony.
David, well, it's so glad to see you back there on the island. I know the circumstances are not good, but the attention you bring to these issues, it helps speed people assistance where they need it. We just saw it in your story there.
Yes.
And we'll hear more about it tomorrow. So, David, thank you very much for more tremendous reporting from Puerto Rico.